Hello, and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group. And with me, as always, is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, Eric. It's November and we're 2.5 weeks away from Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday of the year. So my wife ordered the turkey today and we're all set for another house full.
Excellent. And it's always a good reminder to work gratitude into your daily schedule. Don't just save it up for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
because, gratitude is a great way to, appreciate what you have and help relieve stress. And that is, again, what we're talking about. We talked about stress, burnout, and mental health in our last episode. And today we're following up on that topic with some time management and organizational tips to help you relieve stress as you're trying to get everything done. And as we said, as we talked before the podcast started, I'm really basing this whole thing on the work of David Allen, who is the author of Getting Things Done. So, giving credit where credit is due. David Allen has written several books on productivity and time management. He is the originator of what's called the GTD system. And his whole philosophy is that time management isn't about getting more done. It's about getting everything you need to done stress free. And that's where our focus is. We want to focus on getting rid of your stress while you're still achieving everything you need to do. And the first thing that David Allen talks about is the fact that if you think of your mind as a computer, your mind is the RAM of the computer. It's the system memory. It's not good as a hard drive. It's never meant to store things long term other than basically memory. So every time you store something in there, if it's something that needs to be done, your mind has no sense of time. As far as your brain is concerned, everything, whether it's a thought, something you have to do, a dream, a goal, it's just an electrical impulse. So your brain has no sense of time. And because of that, it thinks you need to do everything that you have stored in it immediately, constantly, until it's done. So the first thing you need to do is get things out of your head. And the first step in this is really a brain dump. Take a piece of paper. You can do it in a word processor, in a spreadsheet, whatever works for you, and just dump out everything you can think of that you need to do or want to do. These can be projects for work, projects around the house, vacations you want to plan, hobbies you want to start. Doesn't matter what it is, just get it out of your head onto lists. And then once you have it on the lists and it's out of your head, then you can start to organize that into project lists, into to-do lists. And the difference between a project list and a to-do list, a project is anything that's going to take multiple steps. So if something's going to take a lot of different steps, that's a project. Projects don't go on the to-do list. What's on the to-do list is next actions. And it's whatever is the next thing you need to do to move those projects along. So, like, get the car fixed would not necessarily go on the to-do list unless you have everything all lined up. So when you're putting together next actions, you think about, okay, I have to get the car fixed. Well, do I know where I'm taking it? Okay, if you don't, the first thing you need to do is find a reliable garage. Do you need to make an appointment? Well, then you need to call the garage and make that appointment. Then, after you make the appointment, then the next thing is get the car fixed. So you need to break things down. And we've talked about that before. And in fact, what we're talking about today is actually the culmination of several of our episodes over the last several weeks. And we're showing you how it all fits together.
Yeah, obviously, if you're not thinking about a million things at a time, if you are, you're going to get stressed out about different things. So one of the first thing that comes to mind, because I think I remember that book, Getting Things Done by David Allen, but it's been a long, long, long time. And I love talking that you're talking about the brain dump and the project list versus a to-do list. And what those project lists are, I mean, you talk about multiple different steps, and I think we've talked several times about SMART goals.
Yep.
And me being the spreadsheet nerd that I am, is just writing down all the possible steps on a spreadsheet as far as how to get things done. It doesn't have to be in a particular order or whatever. If you're carrying around a sheet of paper during the day and you're thinking, write stuff down on that too. But if you get it together on a spreadsheet with a project title on that, what you can do is just put numbers in that column right before the steps, and you can organize them right there. So basically, that is a form of brain dumping, is taking things out of your mind, writing them down on paper, getting them on a spreadsheet, and then being able to organize those so that your to-do lists, go in logical order as far as what's important. Because obviously, we talk about your New Year's resolutions, such as losing 30 pounds or doing this or doing that, and just step by step. You're not going to just wave a wand and things are going to happen. But if you do certain things during the day, like for losing weight, you cut out snacking and maybe, eat something healthy for a snack, take a walk, and so on and so forth. And if you do that day after day, you're going to notice results over a week, over 3 weeks, over a month, and so on and so forth. And things are going to get better. And it's the same thing with what's going on in your mind too. If you get it down on paper first, which, yes, we have talked about that several times in several different ways. That's so important. We use that as far as negativity, positivity. Write down everything that's going down, cross off all the negative stuff that's on the list, and just as an exercise saying, okay, I'm letting go of this, and just get back to the present moment. And if that present moment is guided by positivity, which being organized is going to help you achieve, that's a big part of the deal. So
exactly. And keep getting organized and staying organized is a big factor in your stress. And again, one of the things that David Allen talks about is the need for inboxes. And generally, what you should be doing is, Chip just mentioned writing things down when you're out on a piece of paper, writing it down on a piece of paper. What David Allen recommends is actually writing no more than one idea on each piece of paper. And then when you get back to your desk or your living room, wherever it is that you have your inbox, you put that piece of paper in the inbox. And then at least once a week, you need to go through that inbox and process what's in it. So, do these things get put on your to-do list? Is it, one of the other lists that David Allen talks about is a someday maybe list. This is where, things like, oh, I want to go to Italy. You put it down, but you put it on a someday maybe list that you do look at on a regular basis, but it's not a pressing to do. It's not something you have to get done. And then if something has a deadline, put it on the calendar, put it, on your to-do list with that deadline. So, and ideally, especially if you're using a computerized to-do list, these things should be coming up not on the deadline, but figure out about how long it's going to take you to do it. And if it's something that's going to take you 2 to 3 days, it should be coming up on your to-do list a week before the deadline. This way you've got the time to do it, you've got that reminder, and you're not stressing about it when it comes up.
Yeah, I know there's all kinds of online help that you can get for that. I know your Biznetics book, the calendar, is a big part of that too. That's geared towards helping people get organized, which is really, really important. Obviously, time management and organization go hand in hand. And so just come up with whatever method is best for you. But organizing those things are really, really important. We talk about the quadrant of as far as taking a look at your to-do list and sorting it out by urgent and important,
Yep.
and not urgent but important, and important but not urgent, or what basically the fourth one is not urgent and not important. And these are the things that you automatically do, like answer the phone or email people just when you're thinking about it, just dropping everything. And if you can get one of the most important things that you can do as far as time management goes is really get into a habit of single tasking. Because if you're trying to do 3 or 4 things at once, when you're going back to that important thing that you're doing, you're going to forget half of the stuff that you've already done. And it's going to take you twice as long to start it up again. And you multiply that times the number of times that you start that thing. And that's really a source of frustration. And you feel yourself, because you're distracted by these unimportant tasks, you're procrastinating this and procrastinating that. And basically, that is really, really a big negative mind block, is knowing that you're procrastinating about things, and it just grows like a habit. So if you could just draw a line, do the brain dump, and just start a new system right now, even though you may stray, because you're going to do that too, you're going to start achieving things. And once you start achieving things, you're going to get that feeling, and that's going to help you progress and get on a roll of positivity.
Absolutely. And yes, you will stray from this from time to time. Some things will fall by the wayside. The one thing that you need to remember is that progress is more important than perfection. Don't put that extra stress on yourself trying to do this perfectly. The fact that you're doing some of it is a step forward. And then once you've got those few steps mastered, then you can add another few steps. It doesn't have to be done all at once. Now, when Getting Things Done was originally written in 2001, David Allen actually recommended having multiple to-do lists in multiple places. So he would have one to-do list for everything he needed to do on the computer, and he would have that at his computer. He would have one list of phone calls he had to make, and that list would be at his phone. Now that most of us carry smartphones around, we kind of always have a phone with us. We always have a computer with us. So it's not really necessary to break up those lists anymore. But that's when you can take advantage of these things. If you've got a list of phone calls you need to make and you're standing on a long line at the supermarket, take advantage of that time and make some of those calls. If you need to send somebody a text, take advantage of that time between things you're doing when you've got a few minutes to just send that out. These are tasks that don't require much thought, so it's easy to fit them in. Now, the other thing that's very important about both the inboxes and the to-do lists is you have to get into the habit of checking them on a regular basis, because that's the part of it that reduces your stress. If your mind knows it's written down in a place you check regularly, it's going to not stress about those items. If deep down you know you're not checking your to-do list or you're avoiding your to-do list, that's going to cause more stress. So it's very important that once you get things out of your head, you check it on a regular basis. Now, in terms of inboxes, most of us are going to end up with several inboxes, one of which is a physical inbox where we put papers and mail and things like that. Then we'll all have our email inbox for things that come in there. And then, depending on what you do for work, you may have a digital inbox for files that are sent to you. Now, in some cases, you can leave those in the email inbox and process that all together. You need to figure out what works best for you. And if you take notes digitally, you'll want an inbox for processing those. So you really need to understand how you work. Are you going to be writing things down on paper? Are you going to be doing things digitally? How do people contact you? Is it text message? Is it email? Because you need to see where all of your things are coming in, so you're checking them on a regular basis to process. That processing is where you're sorting it. Now, when you sort these things, basically that's where those 4 quadrants come in. And if you're not familiar with that matrix, to make it very simple, look at things in this way. If something's going to take you less than 2 minutes to do it right away. Just get it off your plate. If it's going to take you more than 2 minutes to do, think about it and go, am I the person that needs to do this? If you are the person that needs to do this, figure out when it needs to be done by and put it on the to-do list. If you're not the person that needs to do it, send it to the person that is the right person to do it and delegate it to them. And then if it's something that has some information you might want to keep, but there's no action involved with it, that should be filed as reference. And then finally, if there's nothing you need to do and no valuable information in it, dump it. Just get rid of it. So those are really where those 4 quadrants end up as practical actions. And when you do that during processing, and again, you should be processing, David Allen refers to it as the weekly review. So at least once a week, going through everything and processing everything you've got in those inboxes, that stress is going to dissipate.
Yeah. And I mean, 20 years ago, those inboxes were the inboxes, the shelves in your office with all
Yep.
the paper. And basically, when you get things in, immediate attention, take a look at it in a week, maybe take a look at that for references you're talking about, and then dump things. So you have that. These days, one of the systems that I use is my email inbox on my computer. I don't use my smartphone for emails, but I do have my computer and my Outlook box. And basically, what I have is a number of boxes that are categorized by different things that I'm involved with, by things that I have to attend to, appointments. If I know that I'm going to go someplace, everything's just in that appointment box. And so all I have to do is look at that periodically and go to the places that I'm doing that. And when I get my email every single day, a couple times, I either delete the stuff or I move it to some place that I will attend to it when it needs attending. If I leave it in my inbox, it can't stay there for too long. So that's the way that I do things. But basically, the message is you have the tools out there to do something, and what you need to do is start coming up with a system, a routine where you can start addressing this. Because as soon as you do that, you're going to start feeling progress. And yeah, you'll be tweaking things and so on and so forth, but you are going to get a positive flow just of positivity in your mind and feeling of accomplishment just by getting things going in the first place. So
Absolutely. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I first read Getting Things Done about 14 years ago, and I've reread it several times since then. I still have not implemented everything in the book, and I still periodically tweak my systems as things change to make sure it's still what's best for me. And as a lot of the organization programs evolve, a to-do list used to just be a to-do list. But now a lot of the computer programs that you can use for to-do lists, you can attach somebody's contact information. So when you're writing down call so and so, you don't then have to go look up their number. You can have it right there. And in fact, a lot of them, if you're using it on your smartphone, you can just hit the contact information and it'll dial for you. If somebody sends you an email file and you need that file for the project, a lot of these, you can link that file to your to-do list. So when you get to that point on your to-do list, you click on the file and there it is. What's most important, especially if you're using computer programs, is you have to find the system that works the way you do. If you have to change the way you work to accommodate a new system, you're not going to follow through on it. You're going to give up. It's just human nature. But when these programs work the way you already work, and that's why David Allen put together his GTD system the way he did, because he didn't put it together for a specific computer program or a specific system. It was a set of principles and methods that you can apply whatever tools you use. So figure out how you work best and implement these organizational tools. And honestly, the first step in all of this, we said the brain dump, but you can take that brain dump and go big. Go through books, rather than just processing what's in your inbox. Go through your bookshelves. Are there things on there that you don't need anymore? If they're, I just went through an organizational period where I got rid of software manuals for software that doesn't exist anymore. I'm never going to use them, so I recycled the books. And make sure you have an area that is yours to work in. If you go to an office, it can be your office desk. If you work at home, you should have a home office area. It doesn't have to be a whole room. It can just be a desk. But there should be one area that's just for you to get everything organized.
Absolutely. A lot of good ideas today. I love my home office right here, and I've been sitting here at the same desk since 1996, and everything is around here. One of the things about your office space, obviously it should be organized, but I highly recommend you make it friendly to yourself. As I've said several times on this show, I work out of my home. I'm looking out the window into the falling leaves, and mostly fallen leaves, and I am surrounded by picture calendars, which I've been doing for years, of family and friends. And if you have a positive workspace, that's going to help out a whole lot too, is the atmosphere. So that's one of the things we talk about positive mindset development is visuals. And if your office visually is a comfortable place to work, that's going to help you out too.
Absolutely. You want to be comfortable where you're working, no matter what kind of work you do, because that's also going to be a stress reliever. And something else is, how is your office area or your work area set up? And this doesn't go for work. It also goes for other parts of your house. Think about what you're doing in any given space. If you're sitting at your desk, files and tools that you need on a regular basis should be within arm's length. Things that you don't need on a regular basis that maybe you look through once in a blue moon, you can put those in storage further away from you. So the more often you use something, the closer it should be to the place you're using it. This way, you're not spending time looking for everything that you need. And the same thing goes for a kitchen. Your pots and pans should be conveniently located by your stove. Things you're going to use while you're at the stovetop should be close by. When you organize and you think about these things, you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every time you're trying to find something. So you need to have set spaces. You need to put things back in their set spaces. And those spaces need to be convenient. If there's a tool you use in your work on a regular basis, again, it should be right by your desk where you need to use it. You shouldn't have to go searching all over the house every time you need to use it, because that, again, is adding to the stress. And all of this is about relieving the stress and making your work flow smoothly.
Yeah, one final thing that I did not bring up, but it's something that I've been using for a long time. No matter how much we have electronically, you're still going to have papers all over the place. And I know we've talked
Yep.
about this before, but for the last 20 years, I've been using what is called a tickler file, which is no more than a milk carton that you put your files, then a bunch of files in there, and you have two different colors of files. One is for the months of the year, and the other ones are numbered 1 through 31. So today is November 6th. So the first file in that, it says number 6 on it. And in that is anything that I put in there to take a look at today. If there's something that I want to look at a week from now, I will put it in the folder labeled 13. If it's something I want to look at in December or January or February, I will put that in the folder that's labeled January, February, December. That's one easy way to sort things out. And the one thing, again, that you want to get away from, I think what you brought up is getting rid of clutter. And this is what we're talking about: books, we're talking about clothes, we're talking about stuff in your rooms and things like that. I mean, if you can do a clutter dump from time to time, you're going to feel wonderful when that's done. I mean, the garbage can doesn't mind getting full. So it's a good idea to do that from time to time, or donate your clothes or your books or whatever to charities or places that you need it. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to do. So those are my two things to leave: is tickler file and clutter dumps.
Absolutely. And David Allen actually talks about the tickler file in Getting Things Done. I actually use a digital version of that, which is a combination of my calendar and to-do list program, so that when things have to come up on a specific day, I put them on the calendar. My to-do list is tied into the calendar. So as soon as that launches, when I turn on my computer, it's right up in front of me. So yes, the tickler file is a great idea, whether you do it with paper or digitally. Again, you have to do what works for you. So we are at the end of our time. So Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway for our listeners this week?
Well, I love the analogy of the brain having everything in it with no sense of time, and then the mind being the RAM, the computer, and so on and so forth. So basically, starting with the brain dump, writing everything down, and then putting your mind to work by developing daily routines for your personal, for your productive, for business, and so on and so forth. Just get those daily routines going. And once you get them started, stick to them so that you are in control of things. To me, those are the biggest takeaways. You got to start with the brain dump, but then you got to come up with a routine that you can work with for you to cover these different areas of your life to keep you from getting stressed out because you're handling things.
Absolutely. I think for me, the big takeaway is the fact that we are actually putting more stress on ourselves and leading to more burnout by not being organized and by trying to keep everything in our head. Put together your organization system, use these time management techniques to get things out of your head. The brain dump, the clutter dump, as Chip said. Take care of these things, because what it really comes down to is you have to get these things done Why do you have to stress about it? If you can relieve the stress and still get everything you need to done, that's the way to do it. The more you can relax, the more you don't have to think about what's going on and can fly through on autopilot, the more relaxed you'll be. So I think that for me is the big takeaway from all of this. You've been listening to The Success Showcase. You can catch every episode of The Success Showcase at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts. Remember, make this your best week ever and make next week even better. We'll see you then.